just to give you a few seconds about my background briefly, I served in the United States Army as a paratrooper in the 82nd Airborne Division in an airborne reconnaissance unit. After that, a military advisor attached to the JFK Center for Special Warfare at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. I'm an expert in infantry weapons, small unit tactics, jungle warfare, and Arctic warfare. After that, I have owned my own business successfully now for over 10 years, a consulting firm. In addition to that, I've spent 10, 15 years researching and studying UFOs and extraterrestrials with an emphasis on contact experiences. I became involved 18 months ago after meeting Dr. Reed and hearing his lecture here at the International UFO Congress. I also followed the details on the Art Bell Show and the internet. Dr. Reed and I became acquainted, and we agreed that I would do a textbook investigation of his case. He would provide me with unlimited access to his witnesses, evidence, and most importantly, himself. I would document my findings and then publish the results. This would be done no matter what direction or conclusion I reached. For me, this is one of the few times a contactee or experiencer has had more than an anecdote. There's a body of evidence that he brought back to examine. This included videotape, photographs made contemporaneously with the event. There were witnesses to interview, and most importantly, an extraterrestrial artifact. Something manufactured somewhere, but not here. A device that has the ability to teleport an individual to perhaps another dimension, another place. This device also allows for contact with other entities described best as beings of light. I had the personal experience of witnessing such an event. This artifact has also been analyzed by a variety of scientists, both in Osaka, Japan, and as well as in Mexico by a member of the Ames Institute of NASA. Any good student of the phenomenon will recognize distinctive aspects of this encounter that have been reported worldwide. Among these are electromagnetic distortion, time distortion, and telepathic communication. There are also psychological and physiological symptoms consistent with the majority of close encounters. The actions of both Dr. Reed and the creature can also be found throughout the literature of contact. This case presents us with a Herculean challenge. If we accept the reality of the encounter, then we have to examine our current paradigms and realize that these are inadequate. We can also study the case for its importance to contact and realize as well that this case has been a lightning rod for reports by other contactees. We are receiving hundreds of new reports internationally. A fair number of these reports report similar structured craft and similar creatures that Dr. Reed has encountered. It would be a great disservice to ignore these reports, or worse yet, treat them as Dr. Reed had been treated over the past 6 years. This would be an appalling state of affairs for the UFO community and has to be addressed. The first thing I'd like to do is set this in a context. On a database of over 100,000 cases covering the time period from 1831 to present, there are over 2,300 strictly from the state of Washington, where this occurred. A full 25 to 30% of these cases are in reasonable proximity to the close encounter site. Also remember that this area is home to Yakima, Maury Island, and of course the 1947 sighting by Kenneth Arnold, which coined the term flying saucers. This geographic region has also a rich cryptozoological history. I am currently receiving hundreds of reports of other experiencers who have seen similar craft and similar creatures. I reviewed the literature to find out if this behavior by both Dr. Reed and the creature seemed unique, or is it possible that there are other cases like this in the literature? And with that, I found that J.U. Perian in Phenomena Space U did a review of 198 cases of EVE human contact. This research revealed that 27 cases of hostile contact. 44% of these cases involved alien aggression. 30% involved human aggression. 11% in actual fight, and 15% accidental violence, all of which occurred in this case. In 1980, M. Moravec studied the physiological reactions to close encounter events from Australia. The results of this were as follows, and also these were reported by Dr. Reed in his encounter. 70% fear, 15% curiosity, 9% amnesia, and 7% anger. And there are also hundreds of documented instances of UFOs that do something to provoke aggressive behavior. In his book, CE5, Richard F. Haynes reports on 59 cases of overtly hostile human behavior. The author Amy Michelle said in 1958 that the visitors never displayed fear under any circumstances. And in Clear Intent, George Fawcett wrote, when confronting UFO occupants, bone-rattling fear and blind panic become the order of the day. And these are all exist in this case. So I set about to do a couple of things: a review of the physical evidence, an analysis of the tissue and the blood samples, film and negative authentication, a full review of the video and still photos. We examined the actual cameras used, and there were a number of site anomalies. There are environmental changes, and to some extent, today, that site has been reconstructed. There is facial and eye movement clearly visible in the video, and it will become more apparent when Jaime shows part of his video. You'll be able to see the slit-eyed pupil move back and forth across the eye, as well as the facial muscles contracting as this happened. This is an early report of self-healing material in terms of the suit that the creature wore. We did a site visit and recreation as well. The other area I wanted to cover was witness testimony. I've interviewed over 30 witnesses. All these interviews were either documented by audio tape, videotape, or contemporaneous notes. Hundreds of hours of interview time have been logged. I've interviewed 4 professors from UCLA and San Diego State who participated in his educational process, 5 fellow students, 3 hospital employees, a security guard, 3 co-workers, 2 Photoshop employees, 2 of his family members, a biologist, 1 professor of pathology, an environmental scientist, Dr. Reed's landlords, special effects professionals, videographers, photographers, and other well-respected UFO researchers and investigators. It was also important for me to have unlimited access to Dr. Reed, where I spent hundreds of hours examining him, interviewing, and observing him, using both direct and cross-examination techniques. Also, unbeknownst to Dr. Reed at the time, I subjected him to voice stress analysis on the telephone, in person, asking him over a long period of time many questions to develop a profile. And I can tell you that that profile does not show an attempt to deceive. It shows highly emotional, but no attempt at deception. And I can make these reports available. In addition to that, and probably most importantly, was the extraterrestrial artifact, the Link bracelet. But let me just briefly go over some of the interviews that I conducted, some of the more important ones that I think you'll find interesting. In June of 2000, I interviewed a retired college professor from Southern California. He was an instructor during Dr. Reed's PhD program at UCLA. The advantage I had here, both with he and Dr. Reed's family members, was that I was able to interview them in their home settings, where you can get a real feel for other things, little details, and that was very important to me. I went to the man's home. He was in his late 70s. He was obviously a man of scholarly pursuits, well-read, well-educated. He had diplomas on the wall, certificates of achievement. He explained to me that he had joined the faculty at UCLA in the fall of 1972. He continued to teach until 1984 when he retired due to the illness and then death of his wife. He recalled teaching Jonathan starting in the fall of 1978. He remembered Jonathan as a very serious and disciplined student, engaging and inquisitive.